Frack and French show. It's gonna start and break. Oh, I can't stop dancing tonight,
Oh, Frack, here we go again. Talking about the 90s, 2000s for the win. You already know nostalgia's my kin. Now listen up and tune in.
We can't stop dancing tonight.
Yeah,
We don't stop dancing tonight.
you already know.
The Frack and French show.
Who?
The Frack and French show.
All right, let's get to the show. Hey guys, welcome to the Frack and Friends show. This is episode 35, 36. Again, I just don't know and I can't check at the moment. It's one of those, this week we have a very special, awesome guest you guys have not seen before, which you guys will actually see, I believe, next week's episode as well. But his name is Charlton. He's been a part of the Frickin' Frack show numerous times. He's been a part of an interview that we did with David Howard Thornton back in the day with our buddy in the podcaster Brian and his brother. But yeah, he's been on a couple episodes in the past, but he hasn't been on the Frack and Friends show. So, to break the ice, we just have to ask why.
Just to come and talk to celebrities and talk about life and talk to you.
That is all. That is literally all what the requirements are to get on this show. And but we're actually going to Lafayette, Louisiana. There's a Louisiana Comic Convention happening this weekend. We'll be attending tomorrow, which will be Saturday morning. And we're also going to have a 4:00 last end of the day panel for the Frack and Friends show called Let's Talk Nostalgia. And it's going to be crazy. It's going to be fun. Usually when they put you last, it's actually a pretty good thing because that's when everybody's like, let's just go settle down into a room and watch these boring clowns. And then they get so shocked and so surprised because there's free, hats and all kind of giveaways. If I remember to bring these, I'm going to put them over there. Yeah, man. So, what are you most excited about this weekend, man?
I'm always excited about looking at different kind of vendors. This is a smaller con, but you never know what you could find. I'm a huge Johnny Young Bosch fan, as I believe I mentioned on the Frickin' Frack show before when we had the Power Rangers.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Adam, my third favorite Ranger. He's great. I always kind of identified with him as a kid because he was shy as a kid. I was definitely shy as a kid. And then definitely I'd have to say Robbie Riss for me because that original Ninja Turtles movie, best Ninja Turtles, and I feel like it's probably the only quote unquote good Ninja Turtles movie.
I gotta agree with you, man. I gotta agree with you. I will say, I think was it Ninja Turtles 2, Michael Bay's, where they made a pretty good improvement to the predecessor, but it failed in box office as FAIL is spelled. It failed or bombed in box office. But Robbie Riss is very, very he's like a staple, for us growing up. He's done a lot of different things, but Michelangelo, that voice and everything to it, just screams Robbie Riss. So to be able to see him, to meet him, to say hello to him is going to be a huge honor and a great deal, Right,
definitely. I did catch him on the Angry Video Game Nerd movie. I believe he's on. Oh,
come on.
He's on that. That's a really good channel. Go check it out. They're kind of slowing down right now. Everybody's spread out, but go check out the sub channels. They're pretty good. Sweet. And I probably saw him on the Brady Bunch, but I don't remember.
You definitely did, because when I saw the picture earlier, I was looking him up just to see everything he has done. And I said, oh my, you wouldn't recognize him. He was probably a kid. He was a kid. There's very few celebrities, very few artists and everything that you would recognize from being, 6 years old to, 40 plus years old, or, it's very rare. Of course you have people like Macaulay Culkin who just looks, a tad bit older, but still has that face, that America's homes and such always remember. But yeah, I was very excited to see Robbie. Personally, there's a lot of different people. For me, I would agree with you. Johnny Young Bosch is, I mean, dude, like I just remember turning on, it was Power Rangers Turbo, I think, for me when I was first introduced. I think he was in Zeo, right?
Yeah. So it went
Okay.
Mighty Morphin, he was Black Ranger, then Zeo, he was Green Ranger, then Turbo, he was also Green Ranger. And he left.
And then he left like so many other Power Rangers. But it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's it's been a long time that Power Rangers has been going. I think very shortly in the next couple of weeks, there's going to be some kind of anniversary special, I think, on Netflix or one of the shows. And I think Johnny was involved, right?
Yes. It's called Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always. I think it's coming out April the 16th or somewhere in the middle of that month. I can't remember. I would assume he's coming back as the Black Ranger.
Yeah, it won't be like Warner Brothers HBO specials where, Friends and Harry Potter, where they just sit down and drink coffee and share memories. Like that's, at least I'm hoping it's not going to be. I'm hoping it's an actual movie.
Oh no! They're like, they're actually fighting people and stuff like that.
Oh, that's
they
exciting.
filmed it in New Zealand, so yeah, it's filmed in
wow
the area where they always film Power Rangers, since there's no unions. So.
Yeah, that's true. And health insurance probably works better there. I was watching a movie of Jackie Chan's earlier, Operation Condor 1. Mm-hmm. And the whole time I said, this guy has no health insurance. Well, it's just,
right.
It blows my mind because in that movie, if I'm not mistaken, he did all the stunts himself. I think it was before the stunt team really was formed the way it became in mid or late 90s. But, I mean, you can clearly, obviously back then there was no CGI. So, all these different stunts he's doing, you clearly see his face at every angle. And it's just like, that's clearly him jumping off a building or, riding a motorbike and then like stopping within an inch of a vehicle. And then he uses his leg to like kick the guy in the back seat. And I'm just like, this dude, like that could have ended so wrong. But then again, in the end, you always see the outtakes and it does go wrong.
Right. Oh yeah.
And that's the scary part about it is, there aren't a lot of one takes in these kind of movies. They have to just do it over and over to perfect it. There's a scene where he's jumping on boxes and jumping up and cars are like hitting boxes and going in the air, like next to him. And I'm like, this is not fake. It's not, this is like real vehicles. And
right.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy, especially with like health insurance for him. And it's still, it might be different now, but then again, I don't know if he resides here, but for his career, Jackie Chan couldn't get health insurance. No one would cover him. I mean, he could have the highest premium deductibles in the world and he would not be covered,
Right. Golly. Yeah. It's the Hard Knocks life. You got, sets that they're basically built like almost like Legos or like the Lincoln Log sets. You knock it down, you have to put it right back up to do the take.
And you know what? Actors today versus, versus let's just say 90s and early 2000s, actors today have it a lot easier, especially with stunt doubles.
Oh yeah.
I was speaking to a guy a while back and he said, whenever he gets tired or he doesn't want to do a scene, he would just call his stunt double in or his double.
Right. Stand in. Yeah.
Yeah. His stand in as well. And, even for like stunts, like whenever he didn't want to do it or just like, maybe not good for me. Hey, come see. And the guy would come in and do it and he'd get hit by a car and get back up and be fine. But, back then, especially with like Steven Seagal, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Jet Li, Jackie Chan, in the early days, they really didn't use any kind of doubles. It was, first of all of them just always wanted to work. I think they enjoyed the craft and being able to expose martial arts and bring on, like, especially Jackie Chan, bring on comedy and such, like that. Even Operation Condor, it's funny. It's so good that it's funny in certain scenes. But it's just crazy, man, how like filming and such changes. And when it comes down to like Louisiana conventions or different conventions. So, we're able, for those who have never been to one, we're able to meet all these different people who will be attending. Not Jackie Chan, Jet Li, Steven Seagal, or John Claude, but
Shucks.
I know, or Chuck. We're able to meet all these different people and kind of, hear and hear them share their stories at panels and talk about, take questions from people, get selfies and such like that. It's a really cool opportunity, especially growing up. 20 years ago, I would have never thought we would have met all these different individuals on the show and in person. I mean, seriously, like 20 years ago, really cons were really not a thing, and now there's a con for everything. I was telling Ming Chen the other day, I said, we talk about all these cons and how the boy bands are doing cons now. New Kids on the Block has their own con called the Block Con coming to Chicago this year. Wow. Like, it's pretty crazy,
Yeah. But there's a Transformer Con, there's Power Morphicon.
Yeah.
Some Ranger others that Stop, I can't think of. Yeah, Ranger Stop as well. Yeah. There's a lot of others that I can't think of right now, but those are the two that came to mind.
I think the biggest one like I've ever heard of was probably Dragon Con, because Brian was telling me it took him and his kids, I think, like 3 or 4 days to go through the whole thing.
Wow.
It's insanely massive. I was in town for a few Dragon Cons a few years ago, like back to back, but I never thought about going because this is before I even started going to conventions. My experience in my first con was in Houston, Texas at Comic Palooza. And man, you want to talk about crazy. That year, the boy bands made a zombie movie. So all the boy bands, all the people I loved my entire life were under one roof. And you had like 50 or 60 celebrities. Like, it was insane. So, even though like Louisiana Comic Con and Lafayette isn't going to be as big or anywhere near it, it's just fun because, like you said, there's vendors. Every vendor is different, and also typically, you go to these cons and you can conversate with different people, especially whenever they're like, "Hey, I like your jacket," or "Hey, I like your mask," and you just kind of strike up a conversation.
Definitely,
it's just. Everyone's just in their own element, where they can't be anywhere else, I guess you can say.
Very, very true. Definitely.
So we also have another huge thing today. Scream 6 releases today. So first of all, I want you to kind of like talk to us about your experience with Scream. How it started for you.
Well, Scream for me was one of the horror franchises that I got late into the game, and I was already pretty late because my parents did not let me watch horror movies at all. I had to, my initial first memory of watching horror was being at my grandmother's house and just sitting on her bed, flipping channels, watching a sci-fi channel on her CRT and her just being appalled by all the screams that were coming from her television. And that's kind of my origins for horror in general, just binging the Sci-Fi Channel all day. But first time I watched the first Scream, it was, I believe, on Netflix, either my freshman year in college or right before my freshman year. So this is like 2010-ish.
Wow.
Yeah, so I got late in the game for that one, and then I watched 2 in about 2012, or maybe it was 2 first and then 1. I think it was 2. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. 2 first.
Man,
2 first.
Order.
Yeah, well, I had to watch them out of order because they didn't have one on Netflix on streaming at the time. They had 2 and 3, and then I don't think 4 had just come out, so it wasn't on Netflix yet. It was just about to be on DVD or something, or Blu-ray. And so yeah, I didn't know who Billy Loomis was, and Stu, and all the the story with Sydney's mom.
Yeah,
being the what's the town that they're in?
Woodsbury.
She's the Woodsbury bike. I didn't realize that at the time, so I had to go into.
Yep.
Yeah, I had to go into 2 with a little blind, and then I finally got around to watching 1, and I kind of understood it. And then 3 and 4, and then I watched 5, and enjoyed them. I didn't particularly enjoy the sequels as much. They're still kind of loose in my mind, but I know people really like 2 and they don't like 3 as much, and so with 4. But
that's usually how it is, because man, 1 was great, but 2 I found was just greater.
Okay,
it was structurally put together better. 1 was especially at that time in the 90s, it was it was still really good, but it was a different story, but it was like a typical movie. You had I Know What You Did Last Summer and different things back to back in that time frame, just not too far off from one another. But 2, I don't know, man. It was something. I mean, I love the 1, but 2 was the one that I would always rewatch over and over and over again. And 3 went a little Hollywood.
Yeah.
And I mean that in all senses possible. Explosions happening, house exploding, and it went a little too far fetched. But I still appreciated it and loved the twist of it all. 4, this is years later. This is
right.
I think 10 plus years later, maybe 11 years later, and it was one that I rewatched. I was working at Lake Cinema at the time, and so I watched it about 30 times. And I again, one of the most captivating things that grabs people with these Scream movies is the twist.
Right.
They do the twist. It could be the worst movie in the world. I really truly believe that. I believe it could be the worst movie in the world, but with that twist, everyone, it's like Saw, some of them, oh my goodness, they went way out with it. But the twist in the end, the explanations, that come together moment was always the most captivating thing, and what glued people to their seats, and also all the blood and the kills. But, going back to Scream, even number 5, I thought number 5 was really good, but, some of the writing choices, were very questionable, but I thought it was really, really well done. The twist, the story in the end, but my only complaint about 5 was just Nev Campbell not being in it until really about the last 20 minutes. And, and number 6, which leads to number 6, they say she's not in it whatsoever because, she stood up for herself and said, "Hey, I've done 5 of these movies." I mean, she didn't say in these words, but, she is the face of Scream. I mean, there's always a ghost face, but Sidney Prescott is monumental. I think in number 4, Rory Culkin even says in a scene, you are the face, of Woodsbury and everything, because everything happens and it always revolves around Sidney Prescott. So it's going to be really interesting walking into this movie and seeing no Sidney.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it definitely looked intriguing. That was my problem with 5 is that it felt more of the same
Yes.
And, you know, it's the Scream sequels. They kind of take concepts of horror movie, whether it's, you know, sequels or genres, and like tell relatively the same story, but in a different way.
Yeah.
But it's still fun. It's, you know, the trying to figure out who the killer is, who you personally think that your suspects are. That's the best part of Scream. And then, the twist at the end. I
mean, how many times have you been correct about guessing a killer?
Maybe in five. That was about it.
Oh, yeah. I agree. That one wasn't shocking. One wasn't shocking. But the other ones, most of them threw me in for a loop because I was like, wait, how? And then they're going into detail about, you know, I'm your half brother. And I'm like, what?
I don't even remember that. It's that I really need to rewatch them because like it's been years and I've only watched each one. Well, except for one because I just finished watching one. I've only watched each one except for the first one time.
Have you been practicing doing a voice?
If I had a voice synthesizer, I would.
Hello, Sydney. Dude, I love shout out to Roger Jackson, man. Him. He is the voice of Ghostface. And I mean, you know, it's kind of like, he's iconic in the horror industry now, that voice. You know, there's always been like, you know, Brad Dourif with Chucky and, you know, Robert Englund and, as Freddy. But I think Ghostface deserves a space in the horror industry because when you think about horror, you think about Michael, you think about Freddy, you think about Chucky, but a lot of times, especially people our age or a little older, they're always like, what about Ghostface? Surprise. You know?
Right.
But it's going to be good. I have a lot of high hopes for it. The ratings are like 70 to 90%, most of them, and that qualifies for a good movie in today's standards. I mean, a 7 out of 10 in school was pretty bad, you know. It was like I think it was like a D, or D plus maybe.
Yes, because it was not on the 10% grading scale. So yes, a 7 out of 10 would be a D, but it was on the 5%, 5% grading scale, something like that. Yep.
So nowadays that qualifies for a good movie. It doesn't mean a D, which is good. But yeah, me and Vicky are going to go see it tonight, and we're going to hopefully walk out impressed. Now, you know, the only things I've heard was it's the best twist of the entire 6 movies. You know,
wow.
I haven't read anything. I refuse to even read a review because you know how reviews are. You read them and they spoil everything. So I've only seen the trailer one time, like 6 months ago. And I'm good. I'm walking in there not knowing anything except for, Ghostface is coming back.
Nice.
But yeah, man. So for those who are watching, tuning in late, we're going to Louisiana Comic Con. We're going to have a blast. Charlton's driving there. I'm driving there. We're going to meet and just have a really good time. And super, super excited about seeing you, man. I think it's going to be a blast doing the panel. It's going to be your first panel. You're going to be in front of a live audience. If you get stage fright, I'll just make you laugh or something.
Well, you're more of the bounce backer, so you're more of the talker. So you know, if I choke, then you know I'm sure you could be like, well, and anyway, and then here, da, 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 da. So you know.
Anyway, Charlton, tell us about growing up. Yeah,
I'll be all right though.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Once you're in there and we get the audience to interact, it makes it so much easier because they want to tell their stories, and we encourage that because everybody's story about growing up, especially in the 90s, 2000s, 80s, 70s, whatever, it's all completely different. No, you know, of course we all listen to boy bands, we all watched Never Ending Story, but you know, some people will say, you know, back in my day I watched this, and I'm like, I've never heard of this, you know, like we did a live show in Pensacola, and someone was telling me something really interesting, how they brought back Carmen Sandiego, which I was not aware. And she was like, oh, well, it's in season 2 right now. I'm like, wow. You know,
Wow.
you learn new things by having conversations. So, but
Interesting.
that's going to be 4 p.m. tomorrow for our panel in room, I believe, number 2. And it's called Let's Get Nostalgic by the Frack and Friends Show. And yeah, we'll go live. We'll take some photos, and it's going to be a absolute blast.
Yeah, it should be a really good time. I'm really looking forward to it, and just the experience of it all and seeing how it goes. So, you know.
Well, sweet, man. Well, I'll be seeing you tomorrow, man. This is a short episode because I got to go see Scream. But it's going to be uploaded within 2 hours from now. So, you know, it's kind of cool. But guys, thank y'all so much for watching. Charlton, we'll see each other tomorrow. This is the Frack and Friends Show, episode 36, I'm going to say. And if it's not, I'm not even going to correct it. But we'll see you guys tomorrow, and hope to see y'all there.
The Frack and Friends Show is gonna start and break. Oh, I can't stop dancing tonight,
Oh, Frack, here we go again. Talking about the 90s, 2000s for the win. You already know nostalgia's my kin. Now listen up and tune in.
We can't stop dancing tonight,
Yeah,
We don't stop dancing tonight,
you already know.
The Frack and Friends Show.
Who?
The Frack and Friends Show.
All right, let's get to the show.